Oh.
Hello, everybody. Let's see. I need to get my translator interpreter.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm setting translation. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't. There it is. Okay. Close call. Okay. Well, we don't have as many people here. Oh, well. Guess that's why we're recording it. Okay. Let's get started. So please make the mandala mudra, and we'll offer the mandala. Here is the great earth filled with the smell of incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, the four continents, wearing a jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayame. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the song of the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit I create, from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joy, effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration, wisdom, may I attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the song of the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit I create, from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration, wisdom, may I attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, compassion, knowledge, and strength, the Dharma, the enlightened side of truth, and the song of the community of realized beings. From the virtuous merit I create, from the practice of giving with the understanding of emptiness, moral discipline with the understanding of emptiness, patience with the understanding of emptiness, joyous effort with the understanding of emptiness, concentration, wisdom, I will attain the state of a Buddha for the benefit of all living beings. Okay, let me get something to drink. So, rejoicing. Let's start with Jackie.
Hello, dearest friends. Thank you. So grateful to be here together. I'm rejoicing for how sometimes we never realize just by being there for someone over a phone call regularly, how we can give company to others and we can give care and kindness and help others to feel the joy in their life and to see the joy that's already in their life. So may every living being have someone that can care for them, someone that can be there, that we can learn to listen better to others, and we can cherish every moment with everyone that we connect with. Thank you.
Okay, that's pretty hard to follow. Let's go, Svetlana.
Yeah. I would like to rejoice that after my meeting with my friend, we decided to go to practice yoga together. So tomorrow we will practice yoga, and it will help me to get some practice. So in order to help a friend, I will do those exercises. So I'm rejoicing in planting seeds of these exercises and dedicate that everyone can have their yoga practice on a regular basis.
Well, very generous of you. Yeah, yoga. That's 3 years, 3 months, and 3 days of yoga was 3 months, 3 years, 3 months, and 3 days more than I needed. But it felt good. I didn't get much energetic out of it, but my wife's the one who's so sensitive to that kind of thing. But anyway, good for you. My wife always says when she doesn't want to do something, she says, the fact that I don't want to do it means I should do it. And I admire her for that. If I don't want to do something, I don't. So, unless she tells me to, in which case, then I do it. But okay, Sheila, what do you have to rejoice about?
Hi, good afternoon. My sister and I, many years ago, did the will, the testament, the will, and the testamento, will. Okay.
Will.
Yes.
Okay.
And we couldn't find it. And then because of the class and the homework, I was I was looking for in my house and in the house of my father and everywhere. And yesterday, I rejoiced that yesterday I found it. And so we have our will, and we are going to put it in a place that we remember. And my father knows where is.
Where was it?
It was in a folder in a closet where I have a lot of papers, books, and I.
What a relief to find it. Wow.
Yeah.
You know, there's something else to do is to make several copies of it.
Yes.
And then you can tape one of those to your forehead. Then you won't have to worry about losing it. Yes. I'm kidding. But congratulations. I know that's an immensely wonderful feeling. The strange thing for me is when I'm looking for something like that, I look in the same places. I look and I don't find it and go, well, maybe I didn't look hard enough. And that's one of the clues of you're going insane is when you look in the same place several times for something that clearly isn't there, except that as a Buddhist, you know quite well that the seed for ripening to be there might happen anytime. So I've come across that several times in my research from my various books. In fact, yesterday I came across that I had made somewhat of a bold statement in one paragraph, and I thought, you really don't know if you can say that. And I was looking through an article that I looked through a dozen times, and there, right in front of me, was the wording I needed. And I'd read that same article, I don't know, easily a dozen times. So maybe it doesn't show you're insane. Okay, Katya. Now, after you hid that from your sister.
Yeah, a big thank you. Well, my rejoice is that I'm working on a project and to have all the material that I need in time. I am creating the causes, giving to the other persons all what they need, and I am having big results.
Very good, very good. I think it's something we tend to think of the negative and the results and how, oh, that's terrible. What did I do in my past life? And I think it's just as important, and that's what rejoicing is all about. When something good happens, you go, well, boy, I did something in a past life to be really helpful for somebody. That's when you pat yourself on the back. You say, good job, Sumati, good job. So, okay. Natalia, you look like you're on a planet.
This is okay. I just finished translating for Ina and Bill. They are doing ACI 3. I'm translating for them. And Svetlana was also there, so she should be rejoicing as well. So it's good. It's a good.
Good. You guys looking forward to trying to translate while I'm talking during White Tara?
Svetlana is going to be translating to Russian, so she's just incredible. And everywhere I go, Svetlana is translating. I don't know when she sleeps or when she does anything else. She's just...
Have you? I don't think Joanna's sent the translating material out yet. She has? Okay. Well, I hope it's not overwhelming, Svetlana. I really do appreciate you doing that. Okay. Now, Evgeny, am I pronouncing that right? What's the correct pronunciation of your name? Evgeny?
Правильно.
Yes, it's true. That's correct, Evgeny.
Okay. What do you have to rejoice about, Evgeny?
Я хочу порадоваться из-за
I would like to rejoice for Svetlana and Natalia. I was recording those class. They were translating and I was recording. I would like to rejoice that many seats are opening up all those 10 ethical principles and lie and ignorance. It is all opening and lots of that stuff. And I would express my gratitude for the teachings of White Tara. I also will record it and practice it.
Oh, very good. Very good. Yeah, this is we're going to get quite a bit of material, but you guys are going to get the first run, the first teachings on two things. So I'm really pleased to be able to offer them. I just hope, well, between the two of them, we get at least one of them that the people enjoy. So that's going to be fun. What do I have to rejoice about? No, I watched a informational video, well, a Zoom call on a thing called the Q1. It's a device that vibrates at a specific frequency that appears to be helping many people in Britain with Parkinson's. I personally, when I see it and look at the literature, I just don't see how it works. I really don't. I mean, I know it's vibrating and there's something to do with the vibration, but it's only available in the UK. They only recently got it to where the health system in the UK, the government health system will support it. So it's been approved by their equivalent of our NIH, but it isn't approved in this country. So I was going to have a friend purchase one in Britain for me and bring it over when she comes to visit. But we decided that's not ethical because it's only licensed to be used in Britain. And I don't want to put them and anybody in that company in a jeopardizing their morality. So we're just going to have to wait. But it's interesting to see. The nice thing about this company is they don't claim it solves everybody's Parkinson's. They say that it's good for some types of Parkinson, and the only way to find out whether it works or not is to buy it, and they'll refund your money. So I'm just we're on a waiting list, and we'll see what happens if I can get one. I'm not sure when that will happen, but it's interesting to see. I'm excited that I'm having the karma for companies to be developing this kind of equipment. I think that's really wonderful. What else? Oh, I made a particularly tasty meal for 2 nights ago. So I'm going to share the recipe with you. You'll think it's ghastly, but you got to try it. It's pretty tasty. So you take 2 reasonably good-sized sweet potatoes and you put them in a solar oven, or you could roast them, cut them up into chunks and roast them. Then you take 1 large onion and caramelize it. And you add all that together. You take 3 zucchini and you chop those up. I call them zucchini. They call them marrows in Australia.
We just call them zucchinis as well.
Well, South Africa, they call them marrows for some reason. How about in Mexico? Are they zucchini?
Calabaza.
Oh, that's what calabaza. I
Sí.
didn't know that. I thought calabaza meant cactus of some kind. Well, that explains why calabaza has zucchini in it. Now I know. Okay, what else? A can of diced roasted tomatoes. I love those. A can of medium-sized black olives. A can of garbanzo beans. So you've heated this all, you're mixing it together. And last but not least, which everybody's going to think is weird, I put in a can of sauerkraut. And that sour taste mixes in well with everything else. And I think it's quite tasty. So does my lovely wife. So I rejoice in having to come up with a new recipe after all these years. Now I have to figure out what to cook for my student that's coming to visit me from England. She needs to have some quintessential Lama Sumati food. And I'm trying to figure out what recipes to cook. Maybe I'll just solve it by taking her out to dinner. She comes a week from Tuesday. That is going to be way too much fun. Okay, well, on to class. We're on class 5, and this one's kind of short, but I think we can get us some good discussions. So the LamRim, and it's important to realize the source of all my good is what ACI pretty much teaches as LamRim. And that's one reason I wanted to teach the 3 principal paths, because I think it's just as valid. And I am going to try and make one with the meditation like source of all my good. But so the LamRim is designed for 3 levels of capacity, students of 3 levels of capacity, lower, medium, and higher. And as I've said, I think before, and I'll say it again, when we say lower, it's understanding of emptiness. It's understanding of dependent origination. They've got an understanding, but it's lower than the medium, which is lower than the greater. The greater way, the greater capacity, the higher capacity is in the Mahayana tradition, the correct, the best and correct view of emptiness and dependent origination. So we have to be very careful not to think of people as lower, they're dumb or they're ignorant. It's what they can handle. I would not hesitate to say that we probably all started out as lower and then medium, and then we took the Bodhisattva vows and became Mahayana practitioners. So what do we want if we're lower capacity? We don't want to be reborn in the lower realms. We aren't striving for enlightenment. We aren't striving to make other people happy. We're basically just trying to stay out of the lower realms. Now, if you're doing the non-virtues and the refuge vow commitments properly, you are helping other people. You just don't think about it, but you are helping other people because you're making yourself into a better person, and your interaction with others is more considerate because you're more considerate of yourself, and that rubs off on others around you. So he says here, it's when you want to be reborn as a human or higher, there's no world factory in Kansas. It's not like you come into your mother's womb. The way you're reborn is the seeds in your mind shift slightly in the same way the seeds shift slightly when you open a door. Now, this is really an important point, and I think it's something we gloss over, but we need to really think about this. And that is, he says, the same way seeds shift when you open a door. The door doesn't move. Seeds in your mind stop, new seeds come up, and the door is open slightly more. So just stop and think about it. When you pull on a door handle and swing it towards you, you're physically moving the door. We're not saying you're not physically moving the door. You are. But that's the how the door is opening. The why the door is opening is you've made something accessible to others. Now, it doesn't mean you have to stop and look at a door and, that reminds me of a joke. This is a great joke. And you may not get it, but I'm going to tell it to you anyway. So, how does a hippie turn on a light switch? He leans over and he goes, I love you. Get it? No? No? When you say tell someone you love them, that makes them happy. It turns them on. So by leaning over and saying, I love you, he's turned on the light switch. Okay, another one of my jokes that didn't really make it an interpretation. But I figure if the Russians get it, everybody else will get it sooner or later. Okay. Now, Natalia, I need to remind myself, you're Bulgarian? You're not Russian? Is that correct?
I'm both, actually. My mom is Russian, my father is Bulgarian. I was born in Bulgaria, but I do speak both languages.
Okay. Okay. I don't know why I wanted to be sure of that, but I did. Okay, so we're going to medium capacity now. Let's talk about the door opening a little more. He talks about 64 seeds per millisecond. Now, I remember him saying it's 65 seeds per finger snap. So a millisecond and a finger snap are two different entities of time. But that's not the important thing. The important thing is you've got so many frames of a movie playing that you get this constancy of motion. Now, I think I may have related to you years ago when I first started teaching these courses. It was in the garage at Menla House at Diamond Mountain. I thought of writing a short story about a guy who invents a camera that operates at 65 frames per second. And he can see things, projections ripening. But I never wrote it. And I don't think I could write it because it's my projection isn't your projection. But it still makes me think about it. It doesn't, to go to another realm doesn't take more time than opening a door. You look down, you have a paw and someone is chasing you. That's all. So you need to think every day, every minute, every day, what that really means. It doesn't mean stop what you're doing and freeze and hope that nothing bad happens to you. It just means making sure that what you're doing is important and valuable towards your future lives and those around you. So how's important sharing a recipe of something I just created? Well, I like it. You might like it. Maybe it'll instill you to have a recipe that you like and share. That's homework. That's our next homework. You got to come up with a recipe for a main meal that doesn't have any meat in it and and it can have weird stuff in it. I had some dried okra recently. Yeah, I'm not so much a fan of dried okra. But so we love potatoes, so feel free to put potatoes in it. And if you're not a cook, that's okay. All right, next. Now I'm getting hungry. The person of lowest capacity is aware that it's just a matter of change of karmic seeds, and that scares them. They understand the only thing separating them from a pause, a few seconds of breath. You never know when you're going to be hit by a car. You just don't know. That's why I consider that to be one of the pervasive suffering. When we talk about pervasive suffering, we talk about death. You're dying the minute you're born. Yeah, I don't deny that's pervasive suffering, but I think that's if you dwell upon it. I don't dwell upon it. Pervasive suffering of not knowing what karma is going to ripen in the next minute. But I don't worry about that either. So that's interesting. I guess I would challenge that I don't believe. I think I can say that I don't really believe pervasive suffering. I don't worry about death. I don't worry about what's going to ripen next. I worry about how I'm going to respond to it so that I respond with wisdom. But I think I can genuinely say that I don't worry about my death. Yeah. Wonder if that makes me, if I don't have the pervasive, the third of the three sufferings, that makes me a bad Buddhist. Have to think about that. Okay. The medium capacity, their motivation is even if I could control the seeds that ripen at death and just have positive seeds and become human again, then I have to go again through the same suffering in this life. Being born is intense suffering. The process of gestation, 9 months in a small closet, not being able to move, and coming out is very traumatic. And going through the whole life of ups and downs. So they want to stop. They not only don't want to be reborn in the lower realms, they want to stop the cycle of suffering, samsara. So their idea, their joy is, their goal is to break the cycle of samsara. So I would have to say that people that are medium capacity, it's kind of harsh to say they're not thinking of others, but that's not their primary focus. Their primary focus is to stay out of the lower realms, which is admirable, and then stay out of samsara for them. And again, if they're staying out of samsara, if they're trying to get out of samsara, I would not hesitate to say that they're being kind, courteous, thrifty, brave, clean, reverent, all the Boy Scout things. And in doing that, they're interacting with people in a positive, helpful way, kind way. So they also are working, but their focus isn't others, but it's rubbing off on others. So why would a person of highest capacity come to a teaching like this? We haven't started the LamRim yet. We're just talking about motivation for coming here. Before we do anything, that's one of the whole points of this LamRim set of teachings. Before you do anything, before you eat or play music, before you go to bed, examine your heart and say, why am I doing this? This is a practice we're trying to develop this week. And it doesn't mean at the end of the week you stop doing it. It means this is a new part of your your daily practice. And I think I've said this before, but I'll say it again. When we talk about practice, I really don't like to hear people say, I did my practice this morning. You did part of your practice this morning. Your practice is all day, every day, 24/7, the rest of your life, being aware and helping others. So if you catch yourself thinking, I've done my practice, no, you really haven't. Okay. Before you do anything, you examine why. You don't confront a poor motivation and punish yourself. Rather, you're really headed to class because you want to help someone. He uses the example of, they used to have, back in the day, this shows how long I've been going to Geshe Michael's teachings. Back in the day, they'd have bake sales, and people would make brownies and cookies and sell them for outrageous prices to raise money for the going over to learn for the translation courses when they take students over and visit Tibet, visit India for a translation course. That was one way they raised money. So he says here, the reason you're headed to the bake sale is because there's a cute girl from Ohio that's going to be there, and you want to see her. You're not interested in spending money to help get people over for translation. So don't fight. Motivations, obviously fight the bad ones, but don't make everything you do seem like you can't do it. What's a good example? There's nothing wrong with enjoying chocolate. Now, when you eat a lot of chocolate, or you would do anything, what makes something bad, what makes something good bad, is what you will do in order to get it. And a friend of mine who's a social worker said that's one of the definitions of addiction. You crave doing something so much that you'll risk doing something bad in order to do that. And you stop and think about it. As a kid, your parents tell you not to do something, you want to go do it. So you say to yourself, is it worth the risk of getting in trouble to do it? And if it is, then maybe you should reconsider what you're doing. I grew up in a very small town, 15,000 people. That's a pretty small town in the United States. And my mom had friends all over the city, the town. And whenever we went anywhere, we always had to worry that one of my mom's friends would see us doing something stupid and tell my mom. So we were pretty well behaved when we weren't around her, because we were deathly worried that someone would see us and call up and tell her. And that happened more than once. I'd get home and my mom would be looking at me going, what were you doing on your bike out there? Well, how do you know? And she goes, well, they called and told me. So your motivation, the motivation has to be to do the best you can do, and to do not only for yourself, well, no, it's not. It's for others as well as yourself. It's too easy to start saying, well, okay, I'll give everything away because I need to be generous and I need to get things in the future. Well, one of the things I'm not sure which class we teach this in, but when you're the perfection of giving, you have to give something you won't regret. So my example is when I wanted Geshe Michael and Lama Krishna to be my tantric lamas, I went and I asked them. I asked them 3 times. And the last time I asked them, I had an offering. It's this. It's a it's called a Gerber. You have a pair of pliers. It folds up. You have a pair of pliers, and you carry around in a little case, and you can do all kinds of magical stuff with it at Diamond Mountain. And I had one of these. It was something I really liked, I treasured, because I used it every day to do things at Diamond Mountain. So I gave it to Geshe Michael, and I showed him what it did. And I was just really pleased because I'd given him something really important to me. What better thing could I have given him? Well, about a week later, I found it in the drawer of a friend's house. He had given it to them. So my immediate thought was, oh, I get it back. And the young lady whose house it was said, no, I got that from Geshe Michael. Now, she could have said, yes, you can have it back, but she didn't. No big deal. But it made me realize, if you're going to give something, don't be attached to it. My favorite watch, which I don't wear anymore, I was going to give that to a friend at a museum a government employee in a museum in Huntsville, Alabama. But there were 2 reasons I couldn't. One, I couldn't, someone could consider that to be a gift, a bribe, because he's a government employee and they're not supposed to accept anything over $30. And 2, I wasn't really ready to give it away. Now I am. So I need to find out if Ed Smith still works at the Huntsville Marshall Space Flight Center Museum. And if he does, I need to send that to him. Why did I think of that? Oh, well. Okay. Oh, giving. So it's not, well, it's like everything else. It's your motivation. Give the best you can give. When I go to the store and I'm looking through fruit or zucchini or something like that, I don't pick through the fruit and put back fruit that's not perfect. I pick up 5 or 6 grapefruit. If they've got little spots on them or whatever, I take them anyway. The zucchini, if they got some marks on them, I don't care. I'm going to cook them. But back during the COVID times, I remember going to the grocery store and watching people pick through, touch all numbers of zucchini. And I was like, don't you know that could be spreading COVID? When I touched something, I used a plastic bag to cover my fingers. So what I was touching was protected by a plastic bag. Now that may have been over the top. I don't know, but I just remember seeing this one particular lady do that. I stopped and watched her, and she was picking through the onions. And this onion was that onion and this onion. She finally picked a few, and I just thought to myself, what's my karma for seeing someone be so insensitive? What is my karma for doing that? I never did really stop and figure it out, but I did remember it was my karma for seeing her do that. So it's not that it wasn't her fault for doing it. It was my fault to see it be her fault. So what's the karma for picking through fruit? I think the karma for picking through something like that is the feeling that you're better than somebody else. You deserve to have, somebody else should get the less than perfect fruit or vegetable. Now, if it's rotten, you don't have to eat rotten food. I'm not saying you have to eat rotten food, but now let's say you're looking through the fruit and you find something that is rotten or discolored or something. There are two ways to approach that. You can go to the grocer and say, "Hey, you've got a bunch of crap on the display. No one wants it." Or you can say, I picked up this piece of fruit and I wondered if it's okay for me to use it, or there are several more. What should I do about it? Something like that, instead of going up and saying to somebody else in the store, "Have you seen that fruit? Boy, it looks terrible." It's the little things. And that's what I'm trying to convey with this is, don't kid yourself. The little things are really what make it important since they grow. Okay. Get in the habit of, well, that's interesting. Get into the habit of ruining all the pleasures you have. Get in the habit of examining your motivations and the consequences of those motivations. Then circle back and look at what you're doing again. So the first time you look and you find yourself, I want the best fruit. And then the second time you go back and you go, I'll take whatever fruit just happens to be there. I often will take, if there's a box of cereal or something that's dinged or a little bit damaged, I'll often take that purposefully because I know someone else has put it back on the shelf because it's not perfect. Well, I don't take open jars of peanut butter, but I look and I catch myself. I try as much as I can to catch myself. Now, sometimes that'll make it a little difficult to move along the shelf because you see stuff you need to fix, but that's when I go to the M&M's counter and get some M&M's. That solves everything. That's not a hint that I want any M&M's. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying sometimes that solves problems. Well, not sometimes. You can solve any problem with M&M's. Okay, I digress. Let's see what else. You may find your actions may not change much, but the motivation becomes sweeter and sweeter, and you never do anything without a spiritual motivation. It doesn't mean you don't go to work. It means you go to work with more of a purpose now. Your purpose is to make your work enjoyable. Now, if you find you don't like your job, there's nothing wrong with looking for another job. But it's when you find yourself looking for another job and 6 months later looking for another job, then you've got to stop and realize, where is the fact that you don't like your job coming from? If you move 3 or 4 times in a year, it's coming from you. If you don't move 3 or 4 times a year because you enjoy your job, that's coming from you as well. One of my students moved from South Africa to Amsterdam, to the Netherlands, and she loved her new job, just loved it, couldn't think highly enough of it. 6 months later, she doesn't like her job, but they moved. So they moved for other reasons, I think, as well. But I'm hesitant to say to her that what's the common factor in these jobs, not liking your job. But I think she's got enough of a presence of mind to know that. I'm not very subtle with that yet. I don't have the skill my lovely wife does when the student says something that I know they know the answer to. I tend to answer it for them instead of my wife always goes, well, what do you think? What do you think? She does that to me. Well, Sumati, what do you think? And I look at her and I say, don't you do that to me. I asked you a question. You need to give me the answer. And she just looks at me, oh, oh, well. It can't be too bad after 48 years. 48? 48. Okay. Let's see what else. We talked here about medium capacity. Now, medium capacity covers the self-made Buddhas and the listeners. And they're satisfied, their enlightenment, and they call it enlightenment, as I've described more than once. That would confuse me from the beginning. They call it enlightenment because it's nirvana, it's a cessation of mental afflictions, which, when you think about it, would be really pleasant. But they don't have the omniscience of a Buddha. They don't have a lot of the other things that go along with being a Buddha. Now, this is an interesting question. I need to write this down. This is my next homework question to my lovely wife. She doesn't have to give me a recipe. Okay, my question, what was my question? My question was, what was my question? I am going nuts. We were talking about nirvana. Oh, when you reach nirvana, I don't believe that allows you to emanate. I think you have to be a full-fledged Buddha to emanate. But I'm going to check with a little lady and see emanate at nirvana. I'm pretty sure you can't. I'm positive you can't, but. And what happens from what Geshe Michael tells us, and I think the Abhidharma Kosha does as well, when you reach nirvana as a listener or a self-made Buddha, you're pretty pleased with yourself, and then you suddenly realize you can do better. So you start over, and this time you have the motivation, to have the bodhisattva motivation. It's hard to believe that's really true. Why wouldn't you want to help everybody? Well, we have politicians. Lots of politicians don't want to help everybody. They want to help just themselves or their close friends. Oh, well, okay. So why do we want omniscience? Now, that's a good question. If you could read everybody's mind, Katya, do you really want to be able to read Sheila's mind? Or Sheila, do you really want to be able to read Katya's mind? Do you want to read my mind? Oh, no, you don't. My mind's pretty sad. So the point of omniscience, if you've reached the point where you become omniscient, it's not, you want to have the ability to read others' minds because that allows you to give them exactly what they need. So the good thing in my mind about having omniscience is you don't get it until you become a Buddha. And if you become a Buddha, it's a tool you need to do what you do as a Buddha. So it's not like you're omniscient and you're a nasty person. I don't think you can become omniscient and be a nasty person. I don't think a nasty person can become omniscient. Now, it's interesting to think what would happen if you became omniscient, and well, that's another interesting question. I'm curious. What are there any stories in Buddhism about people becoming enlightened and then not being good people? I'll have to ask them. Well, another question for the oracle. I don't think that's possible. I think if you become omniscient, you become a totally enlightened being. You don't have a angry or nasty bone, evil bone in your body. Well, you don't have bones anymore. You're a light body. Okay. This is an interesting statement. I only share with you because it's in the notes. If you don't think your teacher is a Buddha, then you should find one who you do think is a Buddha. That would simplify things. I will share with you that as far as I know, I'm not a Buddha. That doesn't mean you don't think I'm a Buddha, but as far as I know, I'm not. But I could be lying to you. That would be a white lie. That would be a powerful lie, so that I don't scare you thinking I'm a Buddha, but I'm not. I'm trying to be. I'm a wannabe Buddha. Let's see. Well, what else do I want to talk about this? Oh, let's talk about this a little bit. We've all of us in this class, all of you in a room when you're at a teaching, or even when you're not at a teaching, you've each met each other countless times. We've been extremely close. We've been family within the past 2 or 3 lifetimes, or you wouldn't have to be sitting here with each other. We don't recognize each other in that way. There's no one in this room who has not been your mother. There's no one in this room who didn't have their insides ripped out bearing you and risking their lives to give you birth. Now that's something I don't so much struggle with. I'm not debating whether it's true. I'm trying to wrap my head around what that really means. I'm concerned about everybody else, not because they've been my mother in the past. I'm just concerned about everybody else. So maybe you're supposed to think of them as your mother to convince yourself that you should be concerned about others. But what if you didn't like your mom? When I was first introduced to Buddhism, we were taking a class to get ready for His Holiness's first visit to Tucson. And one of his main students was what was he? He was the spiritual advisor at the University of Arizona. And we taken these classes from him. And a friend of ours joined us taking the class. And we got to the point of being a bodhisattva and learning about being a bodhisattva. And we did the sevenfold cause and effect way to generate bodhicitta. And it was talking about how your mother, loving your mother. And this particular friend of ours had a really nasty relationship with her mom, hateful relationship with her mom. And she couldn't wrap her head around it. And my wife's mother was very loving, much more so than mine in many ways. But deep down inside, I realized my mom had her best intentions for us. I think I've related to you before that my dad was a reasonably well-known biochemist. My mom had a degree in chemistry, but was a housewife. And we were expected to do well in school. We were Stumps, my last name. And if you're a Stump, you do well in school, period. And if you didn't do well, you shape up and do well, or you don't get to do stuff. My brother was more prone to be interested in listening to baseball games than studying. So he got in a lot of trouble. But I worked hard. I enjoyed school. But when we did well, my mom or dad would go, well, you're a Stump. You're supposed to do well. Versus Sarani's parents that would say, let's go out to dinner. You got good grades at college. This semester, let's go out to dinner and celebrate. Very different attitude. So if you can wade through all of that, and I think the perspective that they're trying to teach here is that don't look at the surface, look deep down inside at the motivation and look for the good. It's easy to find the bad and the complaint, but once you understand where that's coming from yourself, then it's much more productive to look at the good and perpetuate the good. So when I stop and I think back about my parents, I put it this way. They raised 5 responsible U.S. citizens. None of us are jobless. None of us are taking unemployment. We've all had good jobs. We've made contributions to society. So they raised 5 responsible U.S. citizens. I think that's extraordinary. We didn't have any kids. I sometimes wonder what it would have been like if we had children. They probably would have had to have been volleyball players and interested in missiles. But I digress. Okay. What else do I want to say? The highest form of repaying kindness is to give them someone everything they desire and take away all their pain. Our goal is not to fix spaghetti dinner for someone we love, like your mom or something. You have the capacity to prevent your mother from ever suffering again the slightest pain and give her every happiness there is. There's no higher form of repaying kindness than to help them reach a state of eternal happiness. So it's important to do that without, well, how can I put it this way? It's important to do these kind of things subtly. So we use the term doing something like your secret Sam. And I don't know where that came from, but between my wife and I, if we do something to help somebody, we don't want them to know it, we're playing secret Sam games. That's why I bring that up. I have no idea, but I like to make donations anonymously. I think they're much, much, much more powerful than having my name stamped on something. Because I don't give, if I'm going to be recognized for doing something, I want it to be recognized not for the amount of money I gave, but because of who I am and how I behave. That's the important thing to me. So if out of nowhere $100 appears in your bank account, maybe it was me. Maybe. That's what I like to do. I like to try and figure out how to get people's bank people. If you use your email as your PayPal, oh man, that's open game for me. I can make a donation. You'll never. I guess they know you do know who did it, don't you? I think in PayPal it still says, well, rats. Well, be careful what you do with your purse when you're at Diamond Mountain if I'm there. Maybe I'll now, but see, if I'm go plowing around in your purse, someone's going to think I'm taking something. It's just tough being a secret Sam. You have to be very careful. Okay, what else did I want to talk about? No, there's not much else. Oh, questions. Here are some questions. These are nice. How many people are living now who have seen emptiness directly? In the monastery, they would ask for clarification. This is just Geshe buying time. So they say, Tantra or not? And the questioner says, no Tantra. And it seems to you get one every 600 or 700 years in the world. So where that number comes from, I have no idea. If you become an arhat and don't have bodhicitta, you have to go all the way back to the beginning. Is that literal because you don't escape rebirth as an arhat? Well, an arya is someone who's seen emptiness directly, right? An arhat is someone who's reached nirvana. So, an arhat doesn't have to be a bodhisattva to reach nirvana. If you reach nirvana with bodhicitta in your heart, then you're on your way to become totally enlightened. So I would say the answer here, the tracks are useful because the steps are a spiritual evolution for all people. You go through the 5 great thresholds through your spiritual evolution and beings will become enlightened. It's useful to know the steps because then you know where you are. So who can give me the five paths to Buddhahood? It's not the 3 principal paths. It's the 5 paths.
Is the first one the path of accumulation?
Yes. What you're accumulating. We all think, most people think you're accumulating merit. You're accumulating renunciation. You're accumulating renunciation. So you get tired. I'm tired of this world. I'm tired of former President Trump. I want to do something about it. So I'm going to see emptiness directly. I'm going to work hard to see emptiness directly. And once I see emptiness directly, I won't care with President Trump because I'll know it's coming from me and I'll fix it myself. Okay, so there's path of accumulation, there's path of preparation. What's the third path?
Path of seeing?
Path of seeing. Next one. Path of habituation. After the path of seeing, you get used to what you've seen. You catch yourself seeing things as still being self-existent, but you know they aren't. Then the last one is the path of no more learning. Yay, you're a Buddha. So you should know those 5 paths. They should just come rolling off your tongue. The 3 principal paths.
Renunciation, bodhicitta, and correct view.
Right. We're going to drill that into your heads during the White Tara teaching. If you learn nothing else coming out of the White Tara teaching, you're going to be able to say that in your sleep. Okay. So what were we talking about, those paths? I happen to know there's a very famous quote. No. Oh, this is a quotation from Nagarjuna. If you give money, you will be wealthy. If you strive never to hurt other people, you will be a happy person. If you wish to be beautiful physically, then be a patient person. Take delight in doing virtuous activities, because then you will achieve authority. The karma of learning to meditate well is that you feel at peace with yourself all the time. The karma of attempting to understand where things in your life world come from is that you will receive spiritual liberation. The teaching's called a string of precious jewels. So the student asks him this question. Last night's teaching is coming from my mind, but my mind struggled with that teaching. How does my mind project that kind of teaching? Well, the karma for seeing emptiness directly, I've never seen emptiness directly in any of my lives that I'm aware of. So how can I possibly see emptiness directly if I don't know what it is? Well, if I help you do something you've never done before, that's setting the karma for me to do something I've never done before, which is see emptiness directly. Do I have to show you how to see emptiness directly? That'd be the most powerful thing. But if I show you how to use well, this is a good example. My oldest sister is somewhat of a piece of work because she still thinks I'm her younger brother. I am younger, but at the age of 71, I'm no longer a 15-year-old brother. I'm 71. So she was at the house helping us move in, and she made a comment that her husband didn't let her use power tools. Well, I thought that was pretty absurd. So I said, I need to build a stool to use for getting on and off my exercise bike. And because the seat's up so high because of my height, it's a little bit cumbersome. And with Parkinson's, I'm prone to trip. So I had to make this step stool. So I said, Ann, let's go make a step stool. You're going to do all the power tool work. I'm just going to show you some tricks on how to use it. And my younger sister, who's a year older than me, later said that Ann was just as happy as could be to be taught how to use power tools and to be able to use them instead of being saying, well, here's how you use a drill, but no, you can't use it. I said, here, now, here's a scrap piece of wood. Let's practice on that so you know what you're doing. And I almost bought her a set of power tools because you can buy a set of Ryobi power tools that's pretty cool. But I thought, that's kind of tweaking her husband. That's like telling her husband that she should be able to use power tools. So I decided if she bought them, that'd be fine, but I shouldn't buy them for her. So I didn't. But my sister, this is, when did we move in here? 2.5, 3 years ago. My younger sister says Anne continues to remember doing that. And that just brings me a real joy to give someone. So that's showing someone how to do something they didn't know how to do. Now, will that turn into my seeing emptiness directly in some future life or later this life? It certainly could. But if I hadn't done it, it couldn't turn into that. So think of examples like that in your life. Think how you can help people learn something new or get better at something they want to get. If you want your meditation to get better, obviously help somebody else who's having trouble with meditation. Or help somebody do better with, let's see, what would be a good example? Well, I can't come up with one now. Well, I was going to say, teach him how to do the dishes. There's a way to do, I have a way to cook beet pancakes. This is how you do the dishes. First, you run the water and get a nice soapy water. Then you do the silverware first. You do the silverware first. Get that out of the way. Then you do the glasses. Get that out of the way. Then you do the plates. And then you're done with doing the dishes. So you can do it without that order, but you're not doing them right. You have to do them in that order. That works the best. We have actually have a funny story about doing the dishes. We had a dishwasher at Diamond Mountain in our house at Diamond Mountain that didn't work. We used it as a drying rack. So we'd wash the dishes, put them in there, shut the door, and they'd dry in the dishwasher. Well, one of our first dinner parties, a friend of ours, some of you know Catting, Venerable Catting. Yeah, she was over with her significant other, and we were having a lovely meal, and she did the dishes and put them in the dishwasher. And a day or two later, we couldn't figure out where all the dishes were. Well, she'd put them in the dishwasher thinking the dishwasher worked, but they didn't. It didn't. So anyway, well, I like telling that story. She was mortified when she found out, but now I'm the cook and I put away the dishes from the dishwasher. But it seems to me if my wife's going to put the dishes in the dishwasher and is not doing the dishes, she should put the dishes away. But the secret to 48 years of marriage is not telling your wife that, just doing it anyway and learning the lesson. So none of you can tell my lovely wife that I think she should be putting the dishes away. Okay, so the point of today's class is we reviewed the capacities. The idea that the capacities don't make you, the lower capacity just means you can not so much do better. What's a better word? Not do better, because that implies you're not doing well if you're not doing better. More thorough, more complete. I don't know, would it be a better word? But the idea is lower capacity is a lot of admirable qualities. We're all lower capacity and middle capacity people who just happen to have an additional desire, a great capacity. But I think the point is medium capacity incorporates lower capacity as well. Greater capacity, greater vehicle incorporates the medium and the lower. So to say someone's lower capacity, you're basically saying and denigrating them, then you're basically saying, since I'm lower, well, in my case, I'm lower capacity too, that there's something wrong with me. But we shouldn't have opinions like that anyway. So, okay. So, what's the homework I said I asked? Yeah, I'm losing my mind. Oh, there's my note. Emanating at nirvana. I believe I answered my own question. I don't think you can emanate until you're a Buddha. I'm pretty sure that's correct. Okay, let's dedicate today's class. Well, let's see. I usually use the front page. No. Well, May all sentient beings know happiness and the causes of happiness, and may I help them achieve this. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering, may I help them achieve this. May all sentient beings never be separated from the highest bliss, which is devoid of suffering, may I help them achieve this. May all sentient beings come to rest in the great impartiality, which is free from attachment and aversion, may I help them achieve this. O Gurus, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, O Tara, Mother of us all, please listen to what I now say from the depths of my heart. Watch over Tenzin Gyatso, protector of the land of snow. He who is of one taste with Avalokiteshvara, guide him and protect him, and he may live long to bring liberation to his people and the Dharma to all sentient beings. May all of his goals and wishes be achieved. May the source of benefit and goodness, the Dharma, spread and expand. May the beings upholding the Dharma have excellent health. May the source of happiness and well-being for all embodied beings, the Dharma taught by the Buddhas, always increase. And may the merit of my life and my practice enable all of my students to reach the direct perception of emptiness and total enlightenment in this lifetime. Okay. We'll see you on Tuesday, right? Yeah. Thank you, guys. You're an inspiration to me. You really are. This is a joyful, I enjoy seeing everybody on Tuesdays and Fridays, and look forward to teaching you for a long time. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Have
dearest
a great
teacher.
weekend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.